for Trump Tower Moscow,
right,
and the documents, that Michael Cohen and others negotiated at the same time with the president's statements about Vladimir Putin, his very solicitous statements about Putin during the campaign. So the question is, was the president talking about relations with Russia with the interests of the United States at heart, or was he trying to cultivate Vladimir Putin to get a business deal in Moscow? What was the president's motivations? Is he doing people's business, or is he doing his own personal business? That, I think, is a very profound question. It is legitimate for the Congress to investigate that, and it just shows why this stuff matters. It's not just political point scoring. It's about whether the president of the United States is negotiating with the interests of the country at heart, which is what he's supposed to be doing.
And not just Russia, right? Saudi Arabia, a big question mark.
Okay, but that's right. That's just the start. Yes.
Susan, Poppy mentioned your great piece in the New Yorker. You looked at the State of the Union address not necessarily as a speech that was about where the country is going, but about where the campaign is going 2020. And I agree with you. I think it was a great piece, not just because I happen to agree with it, but largely. Look, I think it was a curtain raiser on 2020, and it did include a very important section on how he will approach these investigations going forward.
Well, that's right. Thank you. I'm glad you agree with the column. I'll try to always write pieces that you agree with.
Great idea.
I did see it as the opening salvo in many ways of the 2020 campaign. And, first, we know Trump has made illegal immigration bashing the centerpiece of his rhetoric ever since he launched his 2016 campaign. What we see now is twinning that with attacks on Democrats as socialists, essentially portraying America, if it returns to democratic rule, as some sort of Venezuelan socialist hellscape. But I think you're right that we may well look back on one line in particular of Trump's speech in which he seemed to make this weird linkage between the boom economy that he says that he has generated and that Democrats can bring it to an end with what he called their ridiculous partisan investigations. He's followed that up this morning, as you pointed out, basically whinging about what he's calling presidential harassment. To me, the president just looks at his weakest when he is complaining about these investigations, publicly lamenting the fact that Democrats are so mean and nasty to him and beating up on the most powerful man in the world. And, it suggests, again, that President Trump knows that there's something to find out there, and he has continued to act in the most destructive way, really, towards these investigations. It's something that we're going to look back on. We don't know the ending of the story yet. Remember, this week everyone's playing the Richard Nixon State of the Union clip from 1974 when he says 1 year of Watergate is too much, and of course 9 months later he was gone. That may well not be the outcome in this case, but it's frustrating to be in the middle of the story. We don't know the ending yet.
Susan Glasser with the verb of the morning, whinging. The president was whinging this morning. I love that.
And 280 characters or less.
Exactly, yes, repeatedly.
Tolu, changing gears to another headline shocking story this morning, and that is what is happening in Virginia. John?
I have a headline here in the bottom of all my papers here. Here we go. This is the New York Post headline here. Virginia is for losers.
And, it's the Post, and that's quite a headline, and we chuckle. But what's happening there is very, very, very serious. And now you've got, is the governor going to resign, Northam, because of wearing blackface, et cetera? The Attorney General, another Democrat, coming forward admitting he wore blackface at a party in 1980. The Lieutenant Governor, Justin Fairfax, another Democrat, denying sexual assault allegations, on-the-record allegations from Dr. Tyson, a 42-year-old professor. And then the fourth in line, if they all did resign, is a Republican. Where does this go?
Yeah, this obviously has local implications for the Virginia Democrats. The party is right now in a state of turmoil, trying to figure out how to get out of this political morass that they find themselves in, with the top three leaders really struggling with scandals that could all be career-ending scandals. But it also has national implications for Democrats nationally. They've tried to draw a comparison between how the Republicans handle racial incidents and accusations of sexual misconduct involving whether it's the president or his Supreme Court Justice nominee, Brett Kavanaugh, and how Democrats handle them. And now they're going to be asked those very similar questions of, what are you going to do when there is a credible on the record allegation of sexual assault against a Democratic high-ranking official, are you going to be silent and sort of run away from reporters, or are you going to take the same stand that you did in the Kavanaugh hearings?
Right.
And similarly with these racial incidents, a number of Democrats that have called out the president, have called out the Republican Party for being racially insensitive. Now you have these various Democrats who have come out publicly and talked about what they've done in their past. Whether or not Democrats have to call for their resignation as well is a big question. And I think they're trying to draw a contrast between how the Republicans handle this, but they're finding that it's difficult to keep up this zero tolerance policy when it could take out the top 3 Democrats in Virginia.
They set the bar. And it was interesting, Jeffrey, and I know you watch every interview that we do here on New Day.
Everyone.
We had Congresswoman Jackie Spear
Yes.
on the last hour, and I had a chance to ask her about Justin Fairfax, the lieutenant governor in Virginia. And she was outraged, frankly, at the accusations made against him, and she says she has no reason not to believe them. She praised Professor Tyson for coming forward, and I think as more and more comes out, and as the professor comes forward with her story very publicly, I won't be surprised to see more Democrats, particularly women members of Congress, who are so vocal about Professor Ford, are, I think, going to come to the side of the professor making these accusations.
Well, but here's where it's not a detail.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing to be supportive of the professor, to be supportive of the accuser, but do they really want Lieutenant Governor Fairfax to leave office? Do they really want to take the step that will possibly turn the governor's mansion over to a Republican? That's the real hard question. Now, I think every Democrat and even even Virginians Democrats have said, we respect the alleged victim who's come forward. We don't want to treat them poorly. But the real question is, do they want Fairfax to leave office? And I don't know what they're going to say about that.
It's different with Franken because you knew it would be a Democrat in that seat.
Exactly.
You know?
I think if they can figure out a way, if they see the succession and they think it's safe, I think you'll start to see a lot more strong statements.
Absolutely.
Really interesting.
All right, friends, thank you all very, very much. House Democrats are preparing to fight to get President Trump's tax returns. Could the administration block this move? And most importantly, what's in them? We're going to speak to one of the very few people who has actually had access and insight to some of the president's tax returns next.
Taxes suck, so get up to a $100 bonus with Tax Act. Know what else sucks? Laundry. We made that better too. You're getting $100. Are you kidding me? File with Tax Act for free and get up to a $100 bonus. Tax Act.
My experience with USAA has been excellent. They really appreciate military family, and it really shows.
With all that USAA offers, why go with anybody else? We know their rates are good. We know that they're always going to take care of us.
It was an instant savings, and I should have changed a long time ago.
It was funny because when we would call another insurance company, they would say, oh, we can't be USAA.
We're the Weber family.
We're the Tennies.
We're the Hells, and we're USAA members for life.
Get your USAA auto insurance quote today.
Discover Card. I just got my cashback match. Is this for real?
Yeah, we match all the cashback new card members earn at the end of their first year automatically.
Woo, I got my money!
It's hard to contain yourself, isn't it?
Uh-huh, let it go! Woo.
Get a dollar-for-dollar match at the end of your first year, only from Discover.
Welcome to Atlantis, where unexpected moments become lifelong memories on an island called Paradise at a place called Atlantis.
Book your Bahamas getaway by February 11th at 1-800-ATLANTIS or AtlantisBahamas.com.
Get to the President's Day flooring sale at Lumber Liquidators. Save on waterproof floors up to 40% off. All laminate on sale or hardwood up to 40% off. Plus, get installation and special financing. Make your tax refund go further for flooring at Lumber Liquidators.
The only authentic
dementia sales event is happening now. Land Rover, above and beyond.
Sometimes, bipolar 1 disorder can make you feel like you have no limits. But mania, such as unusual changes in your mood, activity, or energy levels, can leave you on shaky ground. Help take control by asking your healthcare provider about Vraylar. Vraylar treats acute mania of bipolar 1 disorder. Vraylar significantly reduces overall manic symptoms and was proven in adults with mixed episodes who have both mania and depression. Vraylar should not be used in elderly patients with dementia due to increased risk of death or stroke. Call your doctor about fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, which may mean a life-threatening reaction, or uncontrollable muscle movements, which may be permanent. Side effects may not appear for several weeks. High cholesterol and weight gain, high blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death, decreased white blood cells, which can be fatal, dizziness upon standing, falls, seizures, impaired judgment, heat sensitivity, and trouble swallowing may occur. You're more than just your bipolar 1. Ask about Vraylar.
Just hours from now, House Democrats take their first steps toward their goal of trying to get the president's tax returns. Today's hearing in the House Ways and Means Committee could lay the groundwork for a formal request to the Treasury Department for the president's taxes. Joining now is David K. Johnson, investigative reporter and author of It's Even Worse Than You Think. David, always a pleasure to have you with us now. And I always want to remind the viewers, you have seen some of the president's taxes. You are one of the few people who I think has gone through them in intricate detail here. If people do see them, what will they find?
Well, Donald has a long history of cheating workers, vendors, governments that he owed money to, and we now know because of the New York Times project and my own reporting before that he's also cheated the federal government in the past. Now, those cheating incidents are beyond the statute of limitations. They most likely cannot be prosecuted anymore unless the extraordinary circumstances. But his tax returns with a full audit will undoubtedly show that he has misrepresented himself on his Form 1040 and cheated our government.
Cheated our government. That's one thing, an accounting thing. I'm not diminishing that. You're making that claim there. But what about foreign influence? Because that's what the House Intelligence Chair Adam Schiff is implying here that they want to look into, to see if there's any foreign financial influence on Donald Trump.
That's right. Ways and Means is interested in tax cheating, and they're going to hold their own hearings. The Intelligence Committee's investigation is going to look at monies that flowed to Donald over the years from Russians, from Saudi Arabians, to the people around him. And let's remember that Jared Kushner tried to use his position to leverage an $800 million or so loan out of the Qataris. And that's the focus they're going to take. And we know that there have been numerous transactions that are in various ways in the public record that simply weren't the normal way of doing business. They resulted in Donald getting a lot of money where it doesn't seem he should have gotten any, and some of them show clear signs of being money laundering on behalf of foreign interests. And that would certainly give you leverage over the president if you knew